What is up, everyone, and welcome into ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. It was a long Thursday for Cowboys fans and a long Wednesday night. Tyron Smith is set to miss multiple months of the 2022 season. Some say that he will back until December, if at all. Key phrase right there in the middle of it, right? If at all, he would be returning in December. So now it is time to actually look at who can the Cowboys bring in to solidify that offensive line? Because the answer is apparently not on the roster unless you want to change the position of your first round draft pick from the 2022 NFL draft. So we'll break it down tonight. We'll talk all about it. And maybe we do a little bit of a super quick preview to tomorrow night's preseason game, but we will be focusing on the left tackle situation after Tyron Smith's injury. What a Thursday. The last time that I talked to you guys, we weren't sure if it was a thing or not. We were being optimistic because there were some early reports that pointed towards the right direction, but Wednesday night was filled with plot twists. At first, it was said that the ACL was intact, and we all collectively let out a sigh of relief, only to be hit with the uppercut later in the night that actually it was a severe hamstring injury and that Tyron Smith is set to miss multiple months. So we'll talk about it all tonight on the show for sure. Do me a favor and hit the like button. Share the stream if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. And remember that every like puts this show in front of more Cowboys fans. So go ahead and do me a favor and take 5 seconds to do that. Tonight we'll talk all about the Tyron Smith thing. Let's try to break it down and shout out some of the people here in the Facebook chat and the YouTube chat. We've got Kenneth Fraser, we've got Gregory, VI Cowboy. What is up? Thank you for being here. Lumen, shout out to him. Robert Chook. We've got Kenneth Luke saying, I don't see the Cowboys signing Fisher. We'll talk all about this. Jeffrey Miller with an important comment here. If you are hoping to see Tyler Smith playing tomorrow night versus the Seattle Seahawks, make sure you make plans instead, because you will not get that. In fact, you will not get Tyler Smith at left guard either. He is not playing because of the ankle injury that has kept him out of the last couple of practices. Without any further ado, let's get into this show officially now that more of us are here. Here we go, guys. 1, 2, 3. What is up, everyone, and welcome into ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday through Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central here on Dallas On Demand Sports Talk Network on Primetime, which is presented to you by our friends over at FreemanMazda.net. We will be talking more about them and the ride of the week. Final show for the CX-5 Grand Touring, by the way. We'll talk about them later on the show. But meanwhile, we'll focus all on Tyron Smith. Let's say you kind of missed everything that has happened since yesterday because you were busy at work or maybe you were traveling. Whatever happened, let me give you a super quick update on everything that has been going on today and last night. Because Tyron Smith went down on Wednesday's practice session in Frisco. We didn't know how serious it was. At first, there were some optimistic reports out there on the health status for the Cowboys left tackle. It was reported that the ACL was intact, but later it turned out that it was a torn hamstring. Now, it's complicated because according to the reports, they say that there's also some knee damage because the hamstring tore off the bone. And I'm no medic. I do not know anything about medicine, but that sounds insanely painful, first and foremost. And Tyron Smith didn't even limp out of the practice facility. It is being said that he could return in December. The surgery is already scheduled for Friday, So expect news tomorrow morning as well, I would say. But that December return is a question mark as well because it is not known whether or not he will return. However, the Cowboys are reportedly operating under the assumption that he will be back in December. And we had Jerry Jones on ESPN this morning. He was on First Take in what was a pretty bizarre scene. You know, they didn't know that Tyron Smith was going to get injured. So it was pretty crazy that exactly this week was the week in which First Take was going to visit the star in Frisco. And it made for dramatic TV, I'm sure, because based on the video clips, a lot of people were there and a lot of people tuned into the show to listen to what Jerry Jones had to say. And among those things that he had to say, he mentioned that it was a setback and that they were going to have Tyron Smith for that playoff game, for that San Francisco 49ers game. Of course, referencing what happened earlier this year. Even that might be in question, however, only time will tell. But yeah, that's what Tyron Smith's dealing with. Definitely sounds very painful. For those of you who missed the video last night, I might play it here a couple of times. You get Tyron Smith climbing to the second level. He goes down awkwardly and starts grabbing his knee. Turns out there was knee damage there. So yeah, that leaves the Cowboys on a very tough spot, as you might imagine. And that leaves them specifically without any answer at left tackle, at least for the moment. Because we know, and we don't have to break this part down because we have been doing that for the last couple of weeks. We know that Josh Ball is not it. Just based on what has happened in training camp, what has happened in the preseason, Josh Ball is not ready to be your swing tackle for the 2022 season, let alone your left tackle. And actually have him starting in week 1 would be completely unacceptable. Could Matt Waletzko be it? Like, no, I don't think so. First and foremost, he's dealing with a shoulder injury. So even if he pushes back his surgery, you know that he will be playing hurt. And just based on those two, reality tells you that you will not have Aviante Collins take over at left tackle or Isaac Alarcon or Avon Simon. Those guys are not ready to be your starting left tackle. So my question from me to you guys is, because to me there's only one viable in-house option for the Cowboys, and even that is kind of a shaky alternative. Would you like or dislike the Cowboys kicking Tyler Smith, the first-round rookie, out to left tackle? Would you like that possibility or dislike it? Let me know in the comments. And while you do that, and before I give you my answer, let me talk to you about our friends over at freemanmazda.net, because the ride of the week is the new 2022 CX-5 Grand Touring. It's got all-wheel drive features, third row seating, so that's perfect for families, adaptive cruise control. It's got a Wi-Fi hotspot for your comfort. And if you're working on the road, you can access Wi-Fi hotspot pretty easily. A sunroof and a miles per gallon capacity of 20 in the city. That goes up to 26 in the highway. But, don't take my word for it. Go into the freemanmazda.net website. Check out the interior pictures of this vehicle, the exterior pictures as well, and just catch up on everything that Free Mazda is able to offer you, because when you pick them, you are choosing a lifelong partnership with your car dealer. So make sure you go into freemanmazda.net and check it out. Now, back to Tyron Smith, back to your answers. Would you like or dislike Tyler, the first-round rookie, being kicked out to left tackle? Professor O says, only because of my options. Let's see. Tyler Smith, says Craig, is not ready. They're more ready than Josh Ball is, says Tommy915. For Bruno, unfortunately, says Bruce got the toxic use. Dislike for Gregory. Craig says, awful decision. Absolutely not. It, says Kenneth Fraser. Charlene Evans, yes, they do. Mazda has, on some of the vehicles, of course, autopilot, and in this case, the CX-5 Grand Touring is one of those vehicles. But you can check it out on the website for sure. I'm guessing that autopilot is the same as cruise control because that's what we call it in Spanish here in Mexico. Let me know otherwise, though. I mean, really, he was drafted for this situation just 2 years early. Let him play as 7-11. Move Steele to left tackle, says Craig, and Collins to right tackle. All right, I will put a pin on that, and we will circle back. To that later. But I dislike it. I don't like the idea of kicking Tyron Smith to left tackle. I really don't. I think that if we're sticking only with in-house options, that's the one and only choice you can make. Josh Ball is not it. Matt Waletsko is not it. And some of the others that have been mentioned so far, also not it. If we are talking about a player that's already on the Cowboys roster, it's got to be Tyron Smith. He has worked out at guard, unfortunately, throughout all of training camp. The last time that he was working as a tackle was back in minicamp and the OTAs. The Cowboys then decided they were going to give him all of the reps at the guard, and the reasoning was pretty solid. It sucks that Tyron Smith got injured and all of that, but I did like the idea of giving Tyler every single rep at guard because Mike McCarthy said if he has a foundation to work on, it will be easier for him to adapt to another position later. And I think he was right about that, especially because you were focusing Tyler on one side of the offensive line. So it's easier to transition from a left side position to another left side position instead of going from left to right. So quick note on Terrence Steele. I don't even think he is a piece of this conversation. More on that later, maybe. But I dislike this idea, honestly. I think that, if you kick Tyron Smith to the outside, I don't feel comfortable at all with that combination, starting at center of Tyler Viadish, Connor McGovern, and Tyron Smith at left tackle. That sounds to me like one too many question marks. I do have confidence in that the Cowboys will end up developing Tyron Smith into at least a good player. I don't know if he will be able to be like this legendary Dallas Cowboy, that he will follow the footsteps of Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, Lyle Collins, LOL. But I wouldn't like the idea of pushing him out to left tackle right now. I think the Cowboys need to go outside. They need to go shopping, free agency or trade market, whatever it is. But the answer to me is pretty clearly not on the roster right now. Let's see some of your comments here. Now, regarding what we said about the Terrence Steele situation, the Cowboys have been asked about moving Tyron Smith to left tackle, and they have not given us a public plan, which is obvious. Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore, and even Tyron Smith, they've said that they're open to everything. I think the same for Dak Prescott. And one of the quotes was, he is a part of this puzzle. I think that was Kellen Moore, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think Terrence Steele is a part of this puzzle. You're not going to move Terrence Steele from right tackle to left tackle and create yet another question mark on the right side. Steele did not play well at left tackle last year. That was, in fact, the instances in which he struggled. If you go back and watch Terrence Steele's games from 2021, you will see that he did a pretty decent job on the right side, not so much on the left side. That was where he struggled. And it makes sense because a lot of players, and for example, you've got offensive lineman guru Duke Manyweather. He has spoken about this very topic, and he has said that it's tough for a player to transition from one position, from one side of the offensive line to another. Maybe you can pull it off. Maybe you can't pull it off. There are some players that are pretty versatile, that are pretty, They can easily adapt to any situation. Some guys like Darrell Williams, who maybe we will talk about more later on the show, that can play pretty much every spot across the offensive line. But to do that after all of training camp, weeks away from the regular season, would be a pretty high risk bet with potentially not that high of a reward. So I think that when we discuss what the pieces to this whole puzzle are, Terrence Steele is not a part of this conversation. Terrence Steele is locked in at right tackle. Let's see some of your comments here, though. Craig says, go watch film. He was okay and he will be just fine. Oh, I've watched the film. I've watched the film. Still played better on the right side than he did at left. And the fact is, you have prepared him for to play right tackle. And honestly, in today's NFL, in which you get edge rushers of top tier quality coming from all directions, if you're going to face guys like, maybe not on the Cowboys schedule, but just to give you some examples, Joey Bosa plays on the right side. Same for Khalil Mack. This is today's NFL. Micah Parsons. Where does Micah Parsons rush from? The right side. Are you really going to risk that entire development for Terrence Steele when, although it's the blind side, you also need a top-notch right tackle? I don't think that's going to be the plan, though. I don't think he's a part of this conversation at all, nor should he. JC Treader retired to 7-11. I don't know if somebody was asking about the center, but yeah, man, JC Treader retired. I'm sorry if I missed that comment, but yeah, he did. And, it's definitely not a coincidence that he didn't get offers, maybe because of his role in the Players Association. It kind of sucks, but it's the reality. The injury, says the real Darrell, will force Dallas to run the ball more and to get the ball out quicker with Tyron Smith out, for sure. And, I didn't like Jerry Jones' comments about the offensive talent having to step up, because it kind of sucks that he would say that after moving on from Lyle Collins for money reasons. Or, we can fool ourselves and say that it was the availability issues that he talked about on that opening press conference in training camp. But they moved on from Lyle Collins, who was not really a question mark, if we're being honest with ourselves. He moved on from Connor Williams, who he was a question mark, but still, you created an urgent need by moving on from him and having no backup plan at all. Because when they moved on from Connor Williams, Tyler Smith was not on this roster yet. So there's that. And then you have not brought in additional depth at wide receiver, even though the only experienced guy that you have on the roster is CeeDee Lamb. And yet he's out there publicly saying that the offensive talent is the one that needs to step up. I don't disagree with that, but it was a comment that really got under my nerves. And I actually wrote an entire rant about it on adcsports.com/Dallas. We've got some people fighting on the YouTube chat, which is usually the case when a major injury like this one happens, I guess. Iceberg Sling says, Aviante Collins should be our left tackle, leaves me at left guard, and put Farniok in at center. Right guard Steele, right guard Martin, and Steele at right tackle. I wouldn't feel confident at all with Aviante Collins at left tackle. I know he's been kind of trending upwards lately, at least based on my Twitter timeline. I think he has been trending upwards, honestly, just because, he might be a better option than Waletzko and Ball, sure, but he's not ready to start at left tackle. I don't think he is. So that kind of gets us to the title of this video, 20 minutes into the show. But, we had to talk about this entire conversation. On my nerves. Shout out to Tuck for correcting me right there. I said under my nerves, I think. But yeah, that gets us to the top free agents that, in my opinion, are out there ready to be signed by the Dallas Cowboys. But I need to give you two disclaimers. Number one, there will be disagreements when we talk about who's a better option in free agency right now. And number two, none of these names is perfect, nor should they be. You're not getting another Tyron Smith in free agency late in August. You're not getting one the first day of free agency, actually, in March. So keep in mind, all of this are significant downgrades, honestly. So my top three free agents that are available right now in free agency, I will start with Eric Fisher. I know it's not the same Eric Fisher as before. In fact, he might be far from it. But he did play 15 games for the Indianapolis Colts last year. He had kind of a solid season with them. Maybe it was not up to Eric Fisher's standards, but still, it was a solid season. Over the last 4 years, he's had a pass block win rate of over 87% each and every single one of those seasons. So at least you know that he is not done, like many will kind of potentially say. He's 31 years old, so he can still play. Far from his prime, two-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion. Chances are Eric Fisher has not signed yet because he's been waiting for the right mix of money and playing time possibilities. And that's what he would get here in Dallas. That's my number one option. That's the guy that, to me, makes the most sense for the Dallas Cowboys. And once more, he might not have signed yet because he wasn't interested in being a swing tackle for any team. He was waiting for the right opportunity. This might be just that. Number two, to me, would probably be Darrell Williams, former Buffalo Bill. If you have watched Primetime for a while, you know that Darrell Williams is a guy that has been in my radar for a long time. Darrell Williams is physical. He is tough. He has ideal arm length, 35-inch arms. That's in the 87th percentile of the league's offensive linemen. And when you watch him pull in the running game, he can also do that. In 600 snaps at right guard, which was more or less his dominant position last year, he allowed 14 pressures. But that's probably the one the one thing that I consider the significant downside. He's played 4 spots across the offensive line in his NFL career. The one spot that he has played the least is left tackle. He only has 188 career snaps at left tackle compared to about 3,000 total that he's had, or a crazy number like that. His dominant position might be on the right side. He's almost 30 years old. I do not know how he has been preparing for this season, so maybe that would have an important weight on this decision. Darrell Williams has not played a lot of left tackle, but he's a good offensive lineman in other spots. And that can also be a projection of how you can do in different spots. So yeah, I would like Darrell Williams as well from free agency. And then the last one, and this might be the most controversial of them all, is Jason Peters. I know. He is 40 years old. So was Andrew Whitworth. And that's not the point because they're different guys at the end of the day. And not everyone is as durable. But you know what? Here is the fact. He played 15 games last year. He did. And honestly, he was not bad. There was this terrible game that he had early in the year versus the Cleveland Browns, the one in which they sacked Justin Fields 9 times. That day, Peters looked terrible. But he played 15 games last year, and he was the 21st best tackle in the league. So you're telling me that Jason Peters is 100% done? He should never play a single down of football again? Let me see him. Let me see him play. Because the last time that we saw him do that, he was not bad. I mean, once more, I'm not expecting to get a Pro Bowler. I'm not expecting to get an upgrade for Tyron Smith. I'm expecting a downgrade. I'm just saying Jason Peters is old, but he played last year and he did a solid job of it. Let's see some of your answers here, because my question for me to you guys is, which free agent tackle would you like to see the most in Dallas? Iceberg Slim says Jason Peters, he's 40. No way. No Eagles, says Bruce, got the toxic years. But, on the flip side, you also get to piss off Eagles fans. So not bad at all. Two birds with one stone. Peters actually knows the division as well, says Craig. Williams says Gregory. Eric Fisher says 7-11. Tommy915 says probably Fisher. I don't think Whitworth wants to play. Oh, no. Whitworth does not want to play. I was comparing Peters with Whitworth just because of the age. But yeah, Andrew Whitworth retired. And I mean, he was with the LA Rams. He's a former Cincinnati Bengal. I'm not sure he would want to come back to the Cowboys if he was to come back, right? Among these three, Peters, based on health, says Shane Carter, who did a tremendous job. Shout out to Shane. Round of applause to Shane, because he went to sleep late last night just to have you covered the moment that you woke up on adcsports.com/Dallas. Fisher or Isaiah Wynn, says Nicholas. Isaiah Wynn, who is not a free agent, is definitely in the conversation as well. We talked about him before the Tyron Smith injury because we wanted a swing tackle. Isaiah Wynn definitely in play, getting ready to play right tackle for the Patriots, but he just played left tackle over the 2021 season, and he was good at it. I think he's been this physical offensive lineman that could fit the Cowboys. And somebody asked, how much do you need to get someone like Isaiah Wynn? I would say day 3 draft pick, like we discussed earlier on the week. I don't think Wynn is expensive because he comes along with a $10 million cap hit. And he's on a contract year. I think Wynn is in play here as well. Somebody mentioned in social media, I cannot remember who it was. Somebody mentioned Laramie Tunsil. But let me open up Laramie Tunsil's over the cap website really quick, because that one is a tough one. He has a cap number of $17 million in 2022. And then in 2023, that cap number goes up to 35. I do wonder how viable that would be, because you're not sticking with both after this year. So is there a way to make the financials work on that one? That's a tough one. But of course, Laramie Tunsil playing with the Houston Texans. You know that those teams are always selling. So yeah, I'm not sure about that one being an option. Isaac Alarcón, says Nicolas Ramos. What do you think about him? I think I've been asked this a lot today, because you guys know that Isaac Alarcón, he's my guy. He's my pet cat. I want him on this roster, and I want him badly on this roster. I think this doesn't change things a lot for him, because I think he's fighting for that spot more or less at the bottom of the 53-man roster. He's not ready to start in the NFL. So I don't think this changes things a lot for him. He still has that battle he's still battling for a roster spot. But I think that whoever Tyron was on this roster, I'm hoping he gets replaced by an outsider. So things will likely not change a lot for him. He plays for the Dolphins, as Professor O talking about Teron Armstead, I think. Yeah, Teron Armstead plays with the Dolphins. He's definitely not available there. Shane Carter says the cap goes up next year too. Yeah, next year for Laramie Tunsil, the number is at $35 million. But The one thing that I wonder is because from what I can see, he has no guaranteed money left on that final year. So technically, you could get him, but if you move on from him, you get $16 million in dead money for the 2023 season. So the financials are tough with that Laramie Tunsil contract. I don't think he's in play as much as Isaiah Wynn might be. He also had the same injury as Tyron Smith, so 7-11. No, the Texans would take a big dead money hit. Yeah, definitely not something that's kind of working. Kenneth Williams. Shout out to Kenneth Williams. Keep it up, Kenneth, and your other account. No, what is up? Kenneth Williams says, you are an idiot, and that's all I'm going to say. Goodbye. Now, I don't know if he was talking to Tommy because I know they were kind of in the middle of a heated debate there or who that was too. But I hope that Kenneth's Thursday gets better, man. Is Larry Allen still free to Samuel Rowe? There you go. Now we're talking. Now we are talking. Let's turn this whole season into an ultimate team format. And let's feel better about where the Cowboys are at. You know, all kidding aside, I think there's no excuse for the Cowboys here. Like, they need to go get somebody. Because trusting Tyler Smith to kick to the outside and, you know, having those 3 consecutive question marks starting at left tackle, going all the way into center, that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough, and Dak Prescott probably deserves better, man. Dak Prescott needs somebody to really provide more answers for this offensive line. Tyler Smith can provide answers at left guard. I don't doubt that he can't. But he's already a question mark in being just a rookie that needs to clean up a lot of his game. And then you're going to put that question mark at left tackle and play with another question mark at left guard. Not a recipe for success, I would say. The Cowboys need to go get somebody. Honestly, I am quite confident that they will, even though we are used to them not being too aggressive in free agency. I think they end up bringing somebody in. I don't know who. I don't know if it will be a name that we didn't discuss today because there are a lot of offensive tackles, by the way. I was meaning to make this point. There's Brian Bulaga. There's Mike Remmers. There's Nate Solder, Marcus Cannon, Sam Tevy, who the Cowboys actually worked out in April. So there are options, and they might end up bringing somebody that's not this huge name, but still someone that's decent enough. How's Isaac Alarcon doing, says Juan Castillo. I don't know how he played versus the Chargers. I don't think he had 9 snaps only versus the Chargers. And that's a very limited sample size. I always zero in on Isaac when he gets on the field. I cannot say that I learned anything new about him on those 9 snaps. But then again, pretty limited snap count for him versus the Chargers. We'll see if he gets more playing time in week 3. To put it into perspective, he had 22 plays versus Denver Broncos. And in those 22 plays, we saw him do a lot of different stuff. Whereas in those 9 plays versus the Chargers, we didn't get to see. I think one of those 9 plays was actually a kneel down. So that should give you an idea. He did get away with a false start, I believe. Shout out to Isaac. He did get away with a false start, I think, on that Chargers game. They're not signing anyone, says Mel Hayes. I think they are, Mel. I will be optimistic on this one. I think, and there have been reports about this, they might have already been looking for somebody even before the injury, which makes sense because we were kind of expecting them to anyways, right? Oh, we've got Burl Killer, by the way. Feisty chat tonight, says Burl Killer. And Toxic Tom wasn't even around. Thank you for your comment and your donation, Burl. Yeah, it's feisty. It was supposed to be feisty because it's a tough situation to figure out, man. It is. Craig says, I am trading for Mims. He is a big outside receiver. Oh, Denzel Mims asking to be traded. That's definitely a player that I would look at. However, I'm not sure the Cowboys would, just based on how they have handled this whole wide receiver situation. I think they probably would have already going, and gotten somebody. I think they really like their guys. And the Michael Gallup news that came out recently about him potentially coming back before week 5 kind of makes me think they're not trading for Mims. I would be interested in that though, Craig. Definitely, give me Craig. Like that's a player that I would love on the team. Denzel Mims. I don't think they do though. Billy Bailey says, "I'm glad it happened now versus later. It gives more reps to whoever takes that spot." Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a not the greatest silver lining of them all, but it is a silver lining. I agree with Billy. Simi Fehoko will exceed expectations as a wide receiver too, says Nicholas. Oh, if he is wide receiver too, then definitely he is exceeding expectations. Yeah, man, the chat is on fire tonight, especially on the YouTube side of things. By the way, do me a favor, if you're watching the show and you're enjoying, whether it's the actual content from your host on the show or the content from the chat, take a moment to hit the like button. And I say that because, the chat is a part of this show. That is one of the biggest objectives in primetime, to get you guys involved in the conversation with myself here. I know I've got the microphone in front of me, but the show is about everybody. Jerry won't trade nobody to get a receiver because why trade Cooper in the first place, says Joe, who is watching from Italy. So yeah, there you go. Anyways, before we get out of here, I have one more question for you guys. And this is not related to Tyron Smith or Tyler or Tyler either. Who are you zeroing in on Friday's preseason finale? The Cowboys will play the Seattle Seahawks at 7 p.m. Central. It's the last game of the preseason, so I'm pretty sure most of you will tune in. If you are planning on tuning in to see Tyler Smith play at left tackle, then make plans, go out, see your friends and family, because you're not getting that. Tyler Smith is not playing tomorrow night because of his ankle injury, an injury that has kept him out of the latest practices, which in itself is also a concern, because if you want to kick out Tyler to left tackle, you might not even get a lot of practice reps for him over the next few days here. So what are you zeroing in on? Let me see your answers here really quick. Whoever is playing left tackle, says Todd. Todd, I don't blame you. That's a good thing to zero in on. Renee says Josh Ball. LOL. Josephine Wright says Craig. Those two are a good answer because, those two are prime candidates to be surprise cuts. I have them both making the roster still, but either one of those could be a surprise next Tuesday. Jalen Tolbert says Nicholas, and whomever plays corner, Ball, the kicker says Bruce got the use. Stephen White was saying Ball. The kicker for Jeffrey. I know Jeffrey just said Renee. I'm sorry. Peyton Hendershot says Shane Carter, putting pressure on the team to make the 53. That would be interesting. If Hendershot ends up earning a roster spot, which would probably be Sean McKeon's roster spot. O-line in general, to be honest, Tolbert. Let's see, Tolbert, special teams. Those are pretty more or less the answers. Stephen White, I like this one. Madwell, let's go. I also want to see the Cowboys offensive lineman, but let's go is an interesting one if he plays. He has been injured. He's been back in practice. He's at 2 under his belt now in pads. We have not seen him in contact yet. Billy says, I want to see Sam Williams boost his confidence and be ready to help contribute week 1. He will get that chance probably, Billy, because he's been playing deep into these preseason games, man. Sam Williams has. Makes sense because when you look at his snap counts, it's not like he's getting this outrageous number of snaps, but there's so much rotation going on the Cowboys defensive front that you get to see Sam Williams out there deep into the fourth quarter. Deron Bland. All right, my answer is wide receivers and quarterbacks. I want to learn more about Jalen Tolbert. I want to learn more about Dennis Houston. I don't think they've gotten a lot of chances to do so in the first couple of preseason games. Let's see if Will Greer is able to, put the cherry on top of his strong training camp and preseason, because Will Greer might end up being the backup. We saw him versus the Chargers. He was aggressive. He made plays. He took risks. So I want to see Will Greer earn this job. Let's go get it, Mr. Greer. Change things up at the quarterback position. I would love for that to happen. And Will Greer is just fun to watch. Todd says, my West Virginia boy, Will. Man, he was fun in college. Like, he was legitimately fun. Fergie has... Stephen White. Tolbert needs to step it up, says Craig. Yeah, man, I want to see more from Tolbert. As I have said previously, I'm not panicking or anything like that about Jalen Tolbert. But he has had 2 drops, and that incident when he stepped out of bounds in a play that he probably could have stayed inbounds with a little bit better awareness. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning into the show. I hope that you guys have a fantastic weekend. I hope that you guys are able to shake off the Tyron Smith injury as you head into Friday. Try not to think about it. Try to enjoy your Friday night plans, your Saturday night plans. If you're into college football, happy Saturday. We're getting it back finally. No good games at all. We're not getting good games, I think, but we are getting at least college football back on Saturday. So, I'm excited about that as well. Formula One on Sunday in Belgium. But anyways, thank you guys. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for tuning in. Do me a favor and hit the like button as you walk out of the stream. It takes about 1 second, and it really helps out a lot. And remember that Primetime was presented to you by FreemanMazda.net. Check out their ride of the week, the Freeman Mazda CX-5 Grand Touring on their website. And I will see you all on Sunday night, and I'm pretty sure that we will have plenty to discuss. Tommy, yeah, I do. Tommy says that I always read the comments that I shouldn't. That is true, man. That is so true. It's because I trust you guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I will see you on Sunday night. Bye-bye.